Episode 2. Everything related to Kate. He remembered leaving her a sizable amount of alimony after their divorce. The amount should be more than enough for her to live the rest of her life in luxury. So why had he found her in such a situation? This question had been clogging his mind ever since he left the hospital. "Ian, what's on your mind?" Jenny asked curiously, to which Ian answered dryly, "Nothing serious." "You're thinking about Kate, aren't you?" Jenny sighed. "Even I couldn't believe that was the same Kate we saw up there. Why did she choose to live like this when she had the resources for a better life? Why is she so dense?" Dense. That was exactly how Ian pictured Kate. Sometimes dense could be cute, but Kate had the lethal combination of being dense and stubborn. Because of this, troubles tended to follow the woman and the people around her. In fact, their marriage could be said to be ruined by her stubbornness and denseness. However, he didn't expect her to be dumb enough to be unable to care for herself, even with the great amount of alimony he had given her. Simply put, his encounter with Kate that day had left a great impact on him. Ian was lost in thought, so he didn't answer Jenny's questions. Before long, the car arrived at the restaurant. Both of their families were already there. Since the dinner was to discuss their upcoming nuptials, the attendees included both of their parents as well as his son Charlie. Had him with Kate. The little guy was 1 when they divorced, so he was 4 now. "Why don't we pick November 2nd as the wedding date? It's an auspicious date and our country's national day," Ian's mom, old Mrs. Miller, said smilingly. Jenny's mom nodded happily, adding, "This certainly is meant to be, because I was going to suggest that day as well. Ian, Jenny, are the 2 of you fine with the date?" "Of course. Arrangements like these have always been left in the parents' capable hands," Jenny said diffidently. "I'm fine with any date," Ian shrugged. "Then, the date's set. We can focus fully on wedding preparation now. Jenny, God is still kind towards me, because you'll finally be my daughter-in-law," old Mrs. Miller said happily, as her hands clasped over Jenny's, both of them smiling joyfully. Jenny practically grew up in front of her. She was very fond of Jenny's personality, character, and ability. She had been haranguing Ian to bring Jenny into the Miller family, and finally her wish was about to come true. There was another woman at the table whose wish was about to come true, and that was Jenny Sloan. Finally, Ian Miller was within her grasp. The man was going to be hers at last. Right then, the glass of juice Charlie held in his hands fell and shattered. He also somehow managed to splash his shirt with juice. Charlie, you've got to be more careful," old Mrs. Miller scolded lightly. "Charlie, are you hurt?" Jenny moved in with a handkerchief to wipe the juice on his shirt, but he quickly scurried into Ian's arms, avoiding her completely. Jenny's hands hung awkwardly in the air. "I'll go get him cleaned up," Ian said as he carried his son to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Ian set his son down on the sink counter. Charlie stared intently at his swaying legs, his brain churning. He suddenly slapped away Ian's hands that were dabbing the juice out of his shirt. "What's wrong?" Ian said softly as he stared at his son. "You've been acting up since the dinner began. Is something bothering you?" Charlie lowered his head wordlessly. When Ian lifted his son's face, he saw a pair of determined eyes staring back at him. Ian frowned and asked, "Charlie, tell me what's wrong." "I don't like Auntie Jenny," his son replied directly. He understood his son's thoughts immediately. "You don't want me to marry her?" The boy was silent, so Ian took that as a yes. "Why don't you like her?" Ian continued his questioning of Charlie. "She has been extremely nice to you, hasn't she?" One of the reasons Ian agreed to the marriage was because he had seen how good Jenny treated Charlie. He didn't mind who he married, but if he had to marry one, he might as well find one that could be a good stepmother to Charlie. Jenny was the best candidate because his whole family approved of her and she was kind to Charlie. Therefore, it came as a surprise for his son to reveal that he didn't like his fiancée.
She's nice to me because I'm your son. I'm just a tool for her to get to you.
Ian's face dropped. That's not a nice thing to say.
The truth is never good on the ears,
Charlie said with wisdom beyond his years.
Why do you care? You've never asked for my opinion about who you should marry anyway. I'm just the extra baggage.
Charlie hopped off the counter and stalked off in an angry fit. Stand right there, Ian ordered sternly. Charlie, who taught you to speak like this to your own father? Where are your manners? Charlie was already upset. Being lectured only made him more morose. He turned around obstinately, his eyes swirling with sadness and dissatisfaction.
Nobody taught me. I have no mother to teach me, do I?
Ian was stunned. When he came to, Charlie was already gone. Ian ran out to chase after his son. He caught up to him at the restaurant's entrance. He turned Charlie around and was surprised to see tears rolling in his son's eyes. Charlie had always been a quiet child. He could spend a whole afternoon in silence in the company of a good book. He was in all meanings of the word a model child. He was not given to childish fits and outbursts. His behavior today was definitely out of the ordinary. This was also the first time Ian saw his son so upset. When he divorced Kate, Charlie was only 1 year old. The mother wasn't a part of the boy's life for the past 3 years. Ian thought this meant that Charlie had gotten used to being raised in Kate's absence, but he didn't realize his son had merely been stuffing his emotions deep down. Looking at his son, Ian had no appetite to continue the dinner anymore. After a brief phone call to his mom, he brought Charlie home. In the car, Charlie kept his eyes on the scenery outside the window. His small figure spoke of loneliness and forlornness. Ian sat beside him silently. When they passed the hospital, his thoughts went to Kate. He wondered if she had woken up. Ian couldn't help but be reminded of her current situation. He was sure Charlie wouldn't bear to see his mother like that. Ian decided to temporarily not let both of them meet to spare Charlie the sadness. When they arrived at Purple Jade Villa, their home, Charlie was already asleep. Ian was carrying his son into their living room when his cell phone rang. "Sir, please let me carry the young sir," their maid, Mrs. Wilson, said. After gingerly passing Charlie over to her, Ian pulled out his phone. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" he began, and was quick to realize it was from the hospital. "Is this Mr. Ian Miller? This is First Hospital." "Yes, Ian speaking. How can I help you?" Ian inquired, although he was certain it had everything to do with Kate.